exercise 1 is static back. For static back, you'll need something to put your legs over. You can see here that I've got a poof with a blanket over it to rest my legs over so that my hips and my knees are at a 90-degree angle. It's really important to make sure that your calves are supported high enough that you're able to relax off your legs and keep them in alignment with the hip. If my ankles were lower than my knees in this side view, my knees would flop out to the side and I'd have to be holding tension through my legs in order to keep them in alignment with the hip. So what I want you to make sure that you have is your calves high enough so that you can switch everything off in your legs and keep the knee, the ankle and the toes in alignment with the hip. This is a passive position. I've also got a cushion underneath my head, and for most people I would definitely recommend using a cushion at least the first few times you do this exercise. For some people you may need 2 cushions, for other people you may need 3 cushions, other people may need no cushions at all. So it's a little bit dependent on how you feel. But what I want you to tune in with is what your rib cage is doing. I want your lower back, your mid back and your rib cage to be relaxed and flat to the floor here. So I don't want your lower rib cage flaring up and creating an arch in your lower back. We are wanting everything to passively settle down to the ground. My arms are at a 45-degree angle at my armpit. Don't have your arms at 90 degrees straight out at the shoulder, and my palms are facing up. I'm keeping the back of my neck long on that cushion. I'm not tilting my chin back and compressing the back of my neck. So this is static back. And this is an amazing introductory position for most people. It tackles lots of things throughout the body, but the main things that we're going after here is pelvic balance. So we're getting each side of your pelvis doing the same thing as the other. We're also relaxing the pelvis. We're relaxing the lower back, and we're also reducing rotation through the rib cage. By relaxing the pelvis, by relaxing the lower back, and by reducing rotation in the rib cage, your shoulder blades are also going to realign and reposition themselves in a more balanced position behind you as well. So whilst it may not seem like you're doing very much here, this is a really powerful whole body exercise. And it suits most people. And it's one of the reasons why I've put it as the very first exercise in this course. Whilst you're in static back, I really do want you to take this time to relax and to breathe. So something that's applicable for all of the exercises that we're going to be doing is maintaining functional diaphragmatic nasal breathing patterns. We cannot move well if we're not breathing well. So we have to think about our breathing before we do anything else. So whilst you're in static back, whilst you're in any other position that we do, I want you to be breathing into your nose and expanding your belly with your breath. So we're trying to get out of our mouths, get out of our chests, and we're trying to re-establish that healthy breathing pattern that we would have had as a young child before life got stressful and we forget about these simple things like how to breathe well. So take your time in static back here to relax muscular tension, relax the feet, relax the legs, relax the hand, relax the jaw, relax your belly, relax everything muscularly. But do get into the habit of breathing deeply into your nose, expanding your belly with your breath, trying to push the rib cage into the floor below you, but also out to the sides as well. And also make sure that you're breathing out through your nose. Breathing well and breathing deeply does not mean breathing loudly. So you're not gasping air in and making really loud noises. I want you to imagine that you're sipping air in through your nose. And this is just going to help get you breathing better, relaxing muscular tension that is caused by dysfunctional breathing patterns, and it's going to help you reposition your rib cage and your lower back a bit more. There is a lot of rotation and problems in the torso area that is caused through breathing badly. We've got just under a minute left here in static back before we move on to our next exercise. Our next exercise is also going to be in the static back position, but I want you just to stay here for a little bit longer to have as much chance as possible to reduce rotation through your body. Keep breathing. Notice if anything wants to tense itself up. You might notice you clench your jaw, or clench your hand, or clench your foot. Relax everything off and make sure that the height of your calves and the height underneath your head can make a big difference as to how relaxed you will feel during this exercise. I want you to feel relaxed and like you could maybe fall asleep perhaps in the position. Keep establishing that breath, and we don't want to lose it as we move on to static back knee pillow squeezes. For static back knee pillow squeezes, you're going to grab your yoga block and put it in between your knees. You want your knees to be hip width distance apart. So for me, I have that on what I call the medium width. We're keeping everything in our body the same, so put your arms back to the same position, palms facing up. Your whole body relaxes, but now what we're doing is we're squeezing into the block with our knees, we're holding for a beat, and we're relaxing. We squeeze with our knees, we hold for a beat, and then we relax. Squeeze, hold, release. Squeeze, hold, release. That's the kind of tempo that you're working at. As we up the ante on the exercises throughout the course, and as the exercises become slightly more technically challenging, you may find the need to hurry and force and rush. And what you're trying to do by doing that is use momentum to create the movement rather than functional muscular demand. So keep a nice, steady, rhythmic cadence. That rhythmic cadence is also going to help you maintain that nice nasal diaphragmatic breathing as well. So don't forget to breathe just because you're doing something different with your legs. Squeeze, hold, release on the block. Squeeze, hold, release. Keep your belly relaxed. Keep your jaw relaxed, your hands relaxed. Breathe through your nose into your belly and breathe out through your nose. As you do the static back knee pillow squeezes, you might notice that you're trying to rock your pelvis forwards and backwards slightly. Try and keep your pelvis still and relaxed. The muscles that should be waking up here are your inner thighs. So they may start burning, they might start wobbling a bit, and that's an indication that they're switching on, which is exactly what we want. If these inner thigh muscles, your adductors, don't work very well, you may find that you have the need to rock your pelvis forwards and backwards to compensate. The pelvis is trying to do the work that should be happening from the muscles lower down through the hip. Keep the pelvis still, keep the belly and the upper body relaxed. We are trying to wake up those inner thigh muscles. Also make sure that as you do this exercise, you're not pushing your knees away from you or pushing your ankles down into the object that you have your legs over. Sometimes people will use the lower leg and the knee to try and create the movement. The ankles are relaxed, your knees are not pushing away, the knees are squeezing in. We are maintaining that 90-degree angle at the knees and at the hips. Keep breathing, keep relaxing. We're doing a whole bunch of things throughout your body just as before. We're reducing that rib cage rotation, opening up the chest and shoulders, lengthening the lower back. But by squeezing on the block, you're creating an added hip demand, which is going to help create more pelvic balance as well. We've got about 20 more seconds before we move on to the next exercise. We're still staying in static back. And we're going to be working on our feet. Keep breathing, keep squeezing at a nice rhythmic tempo. Now we're changing onto static back foot circles. Please don't hate me. this is a tough exercise. So for static back foot circles, we are going to twist each of our feet individually. And we're going to wake up all of the muscles around the calves, the ankles, and the foot. I'm starting on my left foot and I'm moving outwards first. I'm trying to keep my upper body fully relaxed as I do this. My pelvis stays still, my knee stays still, and I'm not lifting my ankle up and down. I'm keeping it on the surface that it's resting on. I'm trying to create the biggest circles that I can outwards on that left foot. I'm trying to get my toes involved in the movement as well. So I'm pointing them away as I twist the foot away from me. And as I bring the foot back round towards me, I flex the toes back towards my body. In this exercise, you will notice that you want to go fast. And that comes back to that momentum point again. So we are trying to be slow and controlled. Whatever speed you find yourself drawn to doing in this exercise, I want you to half that speed and then maybe even half it again. Go super slowly and try and find as much range of movement as possible. Don't go fast. We're staying on our left foot and then we're going to do the same thing but in the different direction. So now I'm twisting my left foot inwards. Notice how my shin stays still, my knee stays still, my upper body remains relaxed. I am breathing. I haven't lost that nasal diaphragmatic breath, and I'm trying to get those toes involved again within the circular movement that I'm making. So I'm pointing the toes as the foot points away, and I'm trying to flex the toes back as the foot flexes back towards me in that rotational movement. You will likely notice here that you are really trying to tense up with your upper body. So much upper body tension is caused by dysfunction at the feet. So if your feet don't work properly, and if you're finding this really hard, you may notice that you are gripping with your jaw, you're tensing your hands, or you're locking on with your belly. These are all signs that your upper body has learned to compensate for a lack of foot function. You have to move your foot slowly enough and within a range of movement that suits you so that you're not tensing up further upstream. Now we're staying on the same foot, but we're moving to a point and flex movement. So think of a ballerina. We're drawing the foot back towards us and we're pointing the foot away. As you draw the foot back towards you, once again, make sure that you're not lifting the ankle up and down. You're not moving the knee. We are just moving that foot back towards you and pointing it away. Try and get the toes involved in the movement as well, but make sure that you're not just moving the toes. So some people here won't pivot the foot around the ankle joint. They will keep their foot still and just move the toes forwards and backwards. So make sure that you're pointing and flexing the whole foot, not just the toes. Keep the upper body relaxed. Keep breathing. I know you might be exhausted here, but this is a sign that your feet are weak and that they need strengthening. Today we've started on the left-hand side and I'll be moving on to the right-hand side in a second. But the next time you do this, try and alternate with the side that you start with. So now we're moving on to our right leg and we're moving outward in the circular motion to begin. So relaxing the rest of your body, the knee and the shin stay still. We're pivoting that right foot in a circular movement in an outward direction. Go way slower than you think. Your body is going to make you do this really fast to avoid true muscular function around the toes, around the feet, around the ankles, around the calves. Try and get the toes involved in that movement. But it's not just about the toes moving. We need to get the foot pivoting around the ankle as well. Make a mental note as to which side feels harder. Does your left foot feel stiffer? Does your right foot feel stiffer? Do you notice that more of your upper body wants to compensate when you move one foot over the other? This will give you an indication as to which foot is more or less functional. Couple of seconds time, we're going to be changing direction on that right foot. So now I'm going to be pivoting inwards in that circular motion, really testing the ankle and the foot's capacity to move here. Nice and slowly. The knee is not moving around. The ankle is not moving up and down. We are trying to basically just move everything below the ankle, but not above. Keep breathing. So feet exercises are the ones where I notice that people tense up and hold their breath the most, because feet are so often forgotten about. People do not think about exercising their feet in the same way they do the rest of themselves. And this is a massive problem, because your feet are your foundations, excuse the pun, your feet are your foundations. So if they're not moving properly, your entire body is off. And that is why people can find this so hard, and why they have so much tension in their upper body when they do this. We've got a few more seconds left in this rotation, and then we're going to be moving on to the points and flexors in a few seconds' time. And now we're shifting, we're pulling the foot back towards us, and we're pointing the foot away. As we pull the foot back towards us, we're not lifting the ankle up and down, and we're making sure that we're getting the toes involved in the movement. As we point the feet away, we're making sure that we get the toes involved in the movement as well. Keep breathing, keep relaxing in everything above the pelvis. We're trying to keep the knee and the ankles still, because if you are stiff in your feet, you will try and move the entire lower leg to compensate, because your feet are not moving properly. So we want them to stay still so that we are focusing that burn, that muscular demand on the foot and the ankle zone. Keep breathing, keep relaxed, and don't be surprised if you find this exercise really hard. This is often one of the most difficult exercises for people when they're starting out, and it's because so many people are so weak in their feet. The good news is that we're moving away from our feet in a second and moving on to our shoulders. So next up we have static back reverse presses. For static back reverse presses, you're going to bring your arms to what we call a goalposts position. Your hands are in fists, and your wrists are going to stay directly above your elbows at a 90 degrees position. So don't allow them to fall forwards. Don't allow your hands to fall in towards your body or move away from your body. Keeping your lower body relaxed and without puffing your rib cage up, you are going to press your upper arms down into the floor behind you. So we're waking up the triceps, the rear arm muscles. They push down into the floor, and you're going to also try and pull your shoulder blades together and down away from your ears. So that's waking up muscles called your rhomboids and your trapezius. We are pushing down, holding and releasing. Pushing down, holding and releasing. So it's that same type of cadence that you did in the knee pillow squeezes. When you do this exercise, make sure you're not just pushing down with your elbows. You are trying to maintain contact through the whole length of your arm as you push down into the floor. This is not just the elbows jabbing backwards, it's the entire upper arm feeding into the shoulder girdle. Squeeze the shoulders together and pull the shoulders down away from the ears. But whilst we do this, firstly, we mustn't lose our breath. So keep your jaw relaxed, keep breathing into your nose and into your belly. And you are also not lifting your rib cage up off the floor. So if your scapula, if your shoulder blades don't move very well and you're very stiff in your upper back, you will try and compensate by puffing your rib cage upwards. That's not your shoulder blades moving, that's your spine moving. And this may be an indication as to why you perhaps have mid or lower back tension. Remember, we're keeping the hands nice and tight in that fist, and we're not allowing the hands to drift towards our body, away from our body, or towards our waist. we're keeping the hands above the elbows at that 90-degree angle. We are pushing back into the floor with our upper arms, and as well as the push back into the floor with the upper arms, we're trying to pull the shoulder blades back and down behind us to wake up the muscles of the upper and the mid back. Keep your neck long. So again, a bit like the rib cage thing, if your shoulders don't move well, you may then find the need to tilt your chin up towards the ceiling and hyperextend your neck. A lack of shoulder movement will often present itself as extension of the neck, compensation of the neck, and also the rib cage flare, which is compensation at the rib cage. We want your shoulders, your upper back, and your arms to be waking up here. We don't want the neck tilting backwards. We don't want the rib cage flaring. Keep your legs relaxed and keep breathing. We've got about 10 seconds left doing static back reverse presses. And remember that cadence. Push, hold, release. Next up, we're moving on to static back goalposts for our final exercise of routine 1. So for static back goalposts, you are going to keep your arms in exactly the same position that they've just been in, but the exercise is a bit different. You can see here how I'm twisting my arms back towards the floor, and I'm going to twist my arms in front of me as well. What I want you to do here is make sure that your shoulder blades are locked back and down behind you as you do this movement. So some people here will go really fast and they'll lack control at their shoulder girdle. I don't want your shoulder blades rounding off the floor as your arms move forwards. The shoulder blades are to be kept back and down behind you in a still position. We are rotating the humerus, the upper arm, not the shoulders. So the shoulders stay still. You're going to still activate those rhomboid and kind of upper mid-back muscles in order to keep the shoulder blades in position. And the rotation of the arm is coming from a slightly different place. So this exercise is perhaps a little bit harder than it looks. And if you watch me carefully in this video, you'll see that my body really struggles with this movement. My elbows are all over the place. My right hand is moving at a different cadence to my left hand. I really struggle with this one, but it's one that's very powerful for my body. So relax the belly, relax the legs, keep the back of the neck long. So it's almost like you're giving yourself a double chin. Relax your jaw. The shoulders are active. They are behind you. They are down away from your ears, locked in position. It's the arms that are moving. And as we do this rotation of the arm, I don't want you aiming to touch the floor behind you with your knuckles or your fingers, because if you do that, you're going to bend your wrists. I want it to be that you're actually aiming for the back of your wrists to touch the floor, not your hands, because we don't want the wrists to bend in the movement. When your arms come in front of you, if your shoulders are doing what they should be doing and controlling the movement, you won't be able to touch the floor in front of you. So the movement in front of you is more at a kind of 45-degree angle, although ideally the movement behind, as your shoulders become more functional, will be a 90-degree angle. You'll also probably notice over time how your elbows perhaps drift down towards your waist, or maybe they raise up towards your ears. Keep the elbows in alignment with the shoulder. You may have to adjust this position every now and then. Remember, the rule for all of the exercises is that it's never about speed. Your body will use speed to avoid function. Doing things with momentum means that it's easier and you're not waking up the muscles so much. So slow things down, focus on your form, keep those shoulder blades locked back and down behind you as you slowly, gently pivot those arms in rotation. Really, it doesn't matter how far behind you that your hands come or how far in front of you your hands come. What matters is how you're doing it. The rib cage is relaxed. The belly is relaxed. Your neck is relaxed. Your shoulders are firm, and you are maintaining a 90-degree angle at the elbow and a controlled fist position. You've got a few seconds left here, and that is the end of routine 1.